There was once, not many years ago, a woman to whom I felt such a love as subsisting between affectionate sisters, for it was deeper, purer, calmer than that of which binds brothers together. In life her soul drew near, almost fearfully near, to mine. She thought my thoughts, read my spirit, sympathized with me in all my joys, my sorrows, and my aspirations. Often have we sat beside each other, the poor sick girl and I, and though no word broke the stillness of our sacred hour, yet not a region of our souls was there but was explored by the other, not a silent thought that was not mutually understood and replied to. Presently she died, and the forms forever were separated, yet not for a day were the mystic soul links which bound us together severed. No sister was ever more dearly loved than I loved her, and that love was fully and purely returned. Everybody called her sister. Everybody felt that she was that to them, and it was truly such. Well, she died, and after a year or two had passed, I began to understand that at times her soul was near me, and many and often were the periods in which I did not seem to be myself, and had an invincible conviction that I was Cynthia for the time being instead of who or what I am. By and by there came a consciousness of the blending, so deep, so clearly defined, so calm, that at last I began to appreciate a mighty, almost resistless will and purpose behind it all. For I was myself and Cynthia, never simultaneously, as is asserted to be the case with many of the people called mediums, but in separate instances. Now her, then myself, at first very imperfectly, but gradually approaching an absolute and complete mergement of soul. This continued for nearly 2 years, at intervals, and after about 18 months had passed, one portion of the process seems to have reached completeness. For in a degree it changed, and instead of momentarily as before, the transmutations became longer, until at last, as now, the changes last 60, and in one instance have reached 245 minutes. It may be here asked, where are you in the interim? And the answer is, we are 2 in 1, yet the stronger rules the hour. It will be seen, therefore, that this condition is widely separated from most incidents to the mediums, as there is supposed to be different from the ordinary wakeful mood. They reach their state of a sort of retrocession from themselves. They fall, or claim to fall, into a particular kind of slumber, where their own faculties going, as it were, to sleep. On the contrary, mine is direct opposite of this, for instead of sleep of any sort, there comes an intense wakefulness. Nor is all this in which we differ, as are the processes and states apart, so also are the results different. The revelations of spiritual existences, moods, modes, and conditions of being, as given by nearly every spiritual medium of whom I have ever heard or read, are, to say the least, totally unsatisfactory to the great majority of those who seek for information on the vital question of immortality. How and why, and to what great end we are thus gifted and endowed. Another and equally important one is that concerning the soul world and the inhabitants thereof, how they live, where they live, and to what end and use. I believe that light is, in this volume, thrown on all these vital points, such light, indeed, as will be hailed and appreciated by all who read and think, as well as those who read and feel. 2 widely different classes, but both of those whom these pages are humbly, yet hopefully addressed. The process, strange, weird, and altogether unusual, to which allusion has been made, went on for a long time, and by slow degrees I felt that my own personality was not lost to me, but completely swallowed up, so to speak, in that of a far more potent mentality. A subtlety of thought, perception, and understanding became mine at times, altogether greater than I had ever known before, and occasionally during these strange blendings of my being with another, I felt the other's feelings, thoughts, and others' thoughts, read the other's past, aspired with the other's aspirations, and talked, spoke, and reasoned with all and under the other's inspiration. For a time I attributed these exaltations of my soul to myself alone, And suppose that I was not at all indebted to a foreign aid for many of the thoughts to which, at such moments, I frequently gave utterance, but much study of the matter has at length convinced me, not only that the inhabitants of the soul world have much to do in the molding with the great world's future, but that occasionally they manage things in their own thoughts and often spoken, and their own behests, ends, and purposes fulfilled by us mortals, when we imagine that we alone are entitled to the sole credit of much that we say, think, and do, when in fact we doubtless are oftentimes the mere proxies of others, and act our allotted role in drama to those whose origin is entirely supernatural, and the whole direction of which is conducted by personages beyond the veil. Well, one day it so happened that I repaired to a beautiful village in one of the New England states on a visit to some very kind and well-beloved friends, the brother and sister of the rare maiden whose wondrous thoughts abound in the volume now before the reader. And while the conversation ran on topics wide apart from either mesmerism or its great cognate spiritualism. During the time that had elapsed since my last visit to the beautiful village, some 2 years, Death had been busily gathering his harvest in all the regions round about, nor had he kept aloof from the house on the hill. No, cruel Death had not been over its threshold, and Azrael had carried 2 precious souls over the dark river. These were Cynthia and her mother. After partaking of a sorrow-seasoned meal, mournfully and with aching heart and tearful eye, we, the left behind, and myself, took our way around the ground where lay the sacred form of her who we loved so deeply, so fully. And there I wept, and the great salt tears bedewed the sod, for, indeed, my heart, poor, weary, troubled heart, was almost breaking. Soon we returned to the house upon the hill, and I lay down upon the sofa near the window, the very sofa wherein her sainted form was wont to recline in the days now, alas, fled with her, forever and forevermore, that same little sofa wherein she used to sit and converse with us, and her sister Clorinda, the gentle and the good John Hart, and her well-beloved Jonathan, with my humble self and a few select and sober-minded lovers of the good and true, used to sit and converse upon mysteries of the great beyond, and touching the realities of that other world to which disease was remorsefully and with relentlessly purpose fast urging her life car.